So, I personally think I'm awesome and every woman should love me. But if we're being objective, I am not the type of guy who is supposed to succeed at online dating. I'm 5'7", I'm 43, my hairline's only slightly receding, I'm average looking at best. I am absolutely the exact type of guy who is supposed to be struggling at online dating, but somehow I actually crush it. I've slept with hundreds of women from online, including once 22 women in 1 month, most of whom were online. When I recently put a little bit of time and focus in, I had 10 dates in a 7-day period. I have a very clear and distinct process, and it's actually the same process that I've seen every other guy who I've ever seen be crazy successful at online dating use as well. And this is the same process that I teach in all my courses to get students crazy amounts of success. And that's what I teach you in this video, the step-by-step process of how to absolutely crush with online dating, even if you don't have the type of resume or type of other characteristics like being incredibly good looking and tall and young that you would expect to matter in online dating. So let's get into that right now. The primary commodity you're looking for in your profile is the girl's attention. You must grab her attention. It's much better to turn some girls off or even offend some girls than it is to be overlooked. I even had a profile once where I said, I already have a girlfriend who's better than you and bisexual, so you should apply only if you're willing to be shared between us, you're leaving town in less than a week, or you don't mind if I never see you again after sleeping with you. And then in that same profile, I posted a link to my YouTube channel, which is also incredibly polarizing. These are things I wouldn't do with the modern sites the way they are. But the point is, I was taking risks to be very polarizing, to stand out. And I didn't care if I occasionally got girls saying, you are the worst guy I've ever met. You are everything that's wrong with the world. As long as I got other girls that said like, I want to fuck you now. Or said like, I couldn't not click on your profile. It was the funniest, coolest, best, most interesting profile that I've ever seen. Photos are the first thing girls are seeing, and they make a huge difference. Throughout the entirety of my online dating, I always got the best photos I possibly could. I started out, like most guys, just putting together the best photos I could, but then I would go out of my way to get people to take photos of me. And then when I started being a dating coach and I had videographers, I would have them take high quality but also candid photos of me, which worked really, really well. I even tried at one point hiring a professional photographer who specialized in online dating photos. This actually, because I already had such good photos, ended up making my profile worse. And so I went back to the photos I had before. But the fact of the matter was I was always willing to try it, and I was even willing to spend money on trying it as well. The other thing that matters with your photos is the order you put them in and the story that's being conveyed. Your photos should convey one congruent story throughout your entire profile, and they should work with your prompts to give the girl an overall idea of who you are that is very attractive and fits one archetype. You should not have one photo that's a bad boy archetype, one photo that's a successful business guy archetype, and one photo that is like a preppy high school sports player archetype. You need to pick one strong archetype, maybe two at most, if they're extremely congruent with each other, and you need to have a consistent story throughout your profile of what type of attractive guy you are. What is the story you are telling to a girl, and how do you convey that story the most effectively possible? The next key point is kind of a chicken and egg sort of a thing with online dating, but it is very important, and that is to go on a lot of dates. See, if you get good at online dating, you're going to get a lot of dates. But also going on a lot of dates is going to make you better at dating, and it's going to make you better at everything else you do online. It's going to make you better with women in general. And so I would suggest as you're starting out, as you're starting to get some success, go on dates even if you're not completely sure that you're going to like the girl. Worst case, you spend a half an hour of your time with a girl who's less attractive than you would have liked. You practice your flirting a little bit. You develop some abundance and entitlement knowing you could have taken a girl home and you didn't, and you have a good story to tell. But a lot of guys start out in online dating being so hyper selective that they're not getting a lot of messaging, they're not getting a lot of matches, they're not getting a lot of dates, they're not getting a lot of reps, they're not getting a lot of practice. What you want to start doing is getting a volume of practice, a volume of situations to try out and to learn from, and then you can constantly up your quality from there. But you have to understand that every single interaction you're having, especially early on, you're getting the result of a possible date, but you're also getting the learning. And so every single time, even if you get rejected, even if it goes nowhere, you're learning from that process. And that should be your view, is that every single interaction you either win or you learn. And in particular, you should try and learn things as far down the funnel as possible. You see, you can swipe on a new person anytime you want 24/7, but getting a date requires more work, and so it's harder to practice dating. It'd be a real tragedy if you're so selective that when you finally get a date with your perfect 10, you haven't been on any dates and you're not very good at it. It's good to get the practice along the way as well. This next point is not one that literally every single successful guy does, but it's one that most of the guys I've seen be the most successful do, and it's definitely one that will save you a ton of time. And it's this. You should have a structured plan for how your messaging is going to go, and you should be very aware of your invisible threads with your messaging. And let me explain to you what an invisible thread is. Basically, whenever you send a particular message, there are a few types of replies that you're going to receive back. Because you know that you're going to get these messages, you can actually be prepared for them. Back in the day, I was using this copy-paste message, and the funny thing was that when you say you're adorable, fingers crossed you're not crazy, you're going to get a few decided responses. You're going to get, aw, thanks, I'm glad you think I'm adorable, or you're pretty cute yourself. You're going to get, no, I'm not crazy, or yes, I am totally crazy, or what's wrong with being crazy. And there's a limited number of these messages you're going to get over and over again. Maybe there's 5 to 10 messages that you're going to see over and over again, and there's probably 3 that you're going to see a ton of. So I start off with my copy-paste message, there's some banter, and then I decide it's time to qualify. And then my qualifier is going to look very similar. For example, are you adventurous, or are you X other quality, something like that. And then she responds. And then I'm going to go into a closing sequence, which is going to be like, so what's your view on drinks and witty banter with a cute boy? Okay, sounds good. Here's my number. What's yours? Let's make a plan. And so you can kind of look at the conversational thread as being a linear thread that goes from open to close with some deviation. So we're going from the opener to the qualifying point, and there it branches out into these invisible threads and then branches back. And then you go into the qualifying sequence, it branches out into some possibilities and branches back. But you're funneling the girls through this predictable, repeatable process that you've been through so many times before. And that means A, you know it works. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. And B, it means you don't have to think about it too much every single time. So it doesn't take up too much of your time, your energy, your mental bandwidth. One critical thing that every single guy I know who really succeeds at online dating does is he is constantly iterating and improving his profile. I had a student a while back who was already very good online. He was already crushing it, but with my help, he came to me and we took it to the next level. He got to a point where he had probably the best profile and photos I'd ever seen. He had messaging that was working like crazy. He was getting so many dates, he was starting to get a reputation, and when he would meet the girls, he would match them on Instagram, and they would be friends with other girls he'd already slept with from online dating in his area. He was really absolutely crushing it. And then one day he came to me and said, Todd, I want to throw out my profile. I'm getting bored with it. I don't think I'm improving. I want to just, I want to start over and see if I can make it better. And I was like, are you crazy? You have the best profile I've ever seen. He's like, yeah, I know, but I want to try. This constant obsession with improving is why he got so good in the first place and why he will continue to crush online dating for years to come. Most guys, when they start online dating, they put up a profile, they spend 15 minutes, an hour, 2 hours at most on it. They throw together whatever photos they have. They answer the prompts quickly and they just get started. And then when they don't get success, most guys just give up and start making excuses. They say, oh, I can't do this. I'm too old. I'm too fat. I'm too short. There's no girls in my area. None of the girls look like their profiles. And they don't think, wait, is there something I can do better? How can I change it? How can I improve it? They kind of just assume that they are what they are and the girls are either like them as they are or not. Beyond that, most guys, even if they were to put in the effort, don't understand what attracts women. And so when they do try, what they're trying to win the girl over with is a bunch of resume items. They're listing their job, their accomplishments, the type of car they drive, which fundamentally do not make an emotional impact on a girl. Those are the type of things that will help build comfort once the girl already likes you, but they're not going to get her attention, especially in a sea of other guys using a similar strategy. The point is that online dating is always evolving. People are getting better and better at it because it is a very competitive endeavor. But if you're smart, you can stay a step ahead of the curve, and that's what you need to do to be truly successful. The next key tactic, in the same way that you should be constantly iterating and improving your profile, you should also be constantly iterating and improving your messages, because even if it's working, it can always be better. Specifically, keep good records of your past successes. If you have a line that works, write it down. You pass a shit test well, write it down. Because you're going to see the same situations over and over and over again, and it's good to use what has worked before. It's good to come from data. If you're trusting your gut over and over again, especially early on, your gut's going to be wrong a lot, but data doesn't lie. If something worked once, it's somewhat proven. If you try it again and it works multiple times, it's very proven, and you want to go back to the well. Remember, the girl doesn't know that you've sent a particular message to other girls before her. She just knows, is the message good or not? And the messages that have worked and been honed and used over and over again are going to be better than those who haven't. Final thing that all truly successful guys with online dating keep in mind is that it's about time efficiency. It's not just about the total amount of matches you can get. It's about the amount of matches you can get from a certain amount of hours spent. because at a certain point, you're going to reach critical mass. At a certain point, you only have so many days in the week to go out and have dates. At a certain point, you need to do other things like work, go to the gym, enjoy your hobbies, those kind of things. Online dating should not take up all of your time. For that reason, you want to find ways to be more efficient. If you have to swipe individually and come up with custom messages for every girl, online dating is going to take a very, very long time. Within my coaching programs, Digital Black Belt and 1%, we have an extensive dossier of proven messages you can use, and the top students are constantly adding to that dossier with new field-tested messages. We'll give you proven profiles and prompts that you can copy. There's the option of having my staff literally do all of your profile creation, all of your photos, all of your messaging for you, and just set up dates on your behalf. That's literally the ultimate time-efficient solution. Each and every one of these points is absolutely critical if you want to be very, very good with online dating. Now, you may be saying, Todd, that seems like a lot. That seems like hard work. And it kind of is in a way. Online dating is an area of life where if you're willing to put in a little bit of work and effort, you can set yourself apart even if you don't have a lot of the natural advantages. And if you want to be successful, it's not about natural talent. It's not about a moment of brilliance. It's not about throwing together a perfect profile in 30 minutes. It's about doing that iterative process of making it better and better and better until it's literally world class. All right, so do it yourself, have us do it for you, but one way or another, this is how you succeed at online dating.